What is your view on guns?
What's your view on guns?
Yeah.
And people think it's about hunting. It's not.
Yeah.
Because what we're learning now is that, again, it's a fight against human nature. People want power.
Yeah.
They really do. And business people, they're funny because they love the little business, but political power somehow they get their rocks off.
Yeah.
But my view is this. My view is exactly like the US. The right of the people to defend themselves, the right to bear arms should not be infringed.
Yeah.
Because the people should be able to remove a government that has become destructive to their rights and their ends. And they generally remove it by ballot. But if you have a totalitarian, then it's time to pick up your weapon and remove that individual.
Yeah.
This is human nature. See, people think we've evolved beyond barbarism. No, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
We saw that with the COVID lockdown. The moment you can't get toilet paper, they're elbowing each other for toilet paper. Give me a break.
Oh, yeah.
You take away the comfort that economic wealth brings you, and we return to barbarism.
Yeah.
And it's wafer thin. And just you mentioned the Bible.
Yeah.
Think about this. I think I may have said this before, but I'll repeat myself.
Go for it.
There's two seminal steps in the Bible in terms of morality and the evolvement of morality. The first one was an eye for an eye. Now we think that's pretty brutal. You know, like you've taken mine, I'm going to take your eye out. Can you imagine how brutal life was for that to be a step forward? Before that was mentioned, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Can you imagine how brutal it was? You looked at me the wrong way, so I burnt your village. You insulted me, so I destroyed your family. I mean, that's what it was like. It was brutal. So an eye for an eye is actually a massive step forward. The next step was turn the other cheek. They're the two seminal moments in the morality of humans. But it's only a wafer thin because it disappears in a second. It really does. So, a constitution for the people, of the people, by the people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty rock solid. I mean, an armed society is a polite society, we'll put it that way.
Well, once again, if people are all concerned about that, I think you should have the right to defend yourself. The old saying, when seconds count, the police are just minutes away. Yeah, thanks for that.
Great.
No, you should be able to protect yourself against the tyranny of government. Yeah. That's what it's for, against the tyranny of government.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And also your fellow citizens. I mean, as I said for the thousandth time, Tim Pool, at the start of the year, he purchased a property because his business is going so well, his podcast, good to him, well done, Tim. He voted Bernie Sanders in 2016, he's a lot like myself. In fact, we mirror each other, our paths mirror each other. At the start of the year, he bought a new house and he said, no guns, I don't want any guns in the house. COVID happens and he starts warming up to it, maybe guns. The riots happen and he's like, get me every high-powered gun you can. He ended up getting gifted a gun from Steven Crowder, a very high-powered gun, because he recognizes this is why we need it. People say you don't need a semi-automatic, a larger, AR-15 gun. It's like, well, look at the guy that was defending his mansion against all those people that were out there. You can use a handgun for that. I think you're going to need a bit more firepower, mate.
There's a poster. It's quite amusing.
Yeah.
And it has a picture of a pistol.
Yeah.
And it says, for tyranny.
Yeah.
And then it has a sniper rifle or a hunting rifle with a scope on it. It says, for long-range tyranny. And it's got an AR-15 with scope and a 30-round mag. It says, for lots of tyranny. And that's a very humorous way of making a very serious point.
Yeah.
Our threat comes from those that want to take our power from us. And Australians are going to have to grow up and understand that. And if you're uncomfortable with the guns, I get that. I'm not. I'm very comfortable with them.
Yeah.
Our government is tyrannical. It's unconstitutional. They know it. The High Court knows it. The bureaucracy knows it. Everybody knows it. And they don't want us to know it.
Yeah.
Well, cat's out of the bag, folks.
Yeah.
Scott Morrison has no more right to be called the Prime Minister than my cat.
And I don't get it with the gun thing. It should totally be a I don't know why we don't have it. I really don't. It was good that John Howard gave us put money in the bank, but he got rid of our guns. It's like, great. Now we're going to lose the money in the bank.
Well, do you know where the highest gun crime is? The death by gunshot is? It's in the democratic cities that have been run by Democrats for decades. Right. They have the tightest gun laws and the highest death by guns.
Yeah.
Where they have the lowest death by gun is in the Republican-held states and cities where they actually have concealed carry and open carry.
That's right. Lowest rates of crime too.
Lowest rates of crime, lowest rates of death rates.
That's right.
There you go.
I'm the biggest feminist. I always, whenever I'm in a discussion with feminists, they're like, "You're a misogynist, you're this and that," and I'm like, "I'm more feminist than you, love. I want girls to have guns to defend themselves from rape." In 20,
That's why it's called the equalizer.
Exactly, it's the great equalizer. In I think 98% of situations, it equalizes the situation. That's 98% of rapes which would have happened, but because the woman had a gun, she managed to stop that. In fact, the FBI, the Americans keep statistics on everything. The FBI, I think it was in 2017, there's a great debate between Stephen Crowder in A Change of My Mind. He brings this statistic up. In 2017, the FBI recorded anywhere from 500,000 to 3 million assaults, rapes, murders. Didn't happen because the person was armed. So when people say, you don't need a gun, I'm like, that's 500,000 to 3 million people that would have been raped, killed, whatever. Like, aren't you a feminist? Don't you want women to be empowered, to have the same rights as men? And an armed society is a polite society. That's what it comes down to. We need a more educated, a more responsible society that's used to seeing firearms, so we don't have to use it. But when we do, when the shit hits the fan, because it does, because people take drugs, we get crazy people, we have terrorism, you can react straight away. You don't have to wait for a freaking defense legislation amendment bill to come in. You can do it yourself. You can be a responsible citizen. There never used to be an army. It used to be the militia. You just grab your gun and go fight. But we haven't had to do that here in Australia yet.